going back, not gonna buy into all that. Hey, hey, ain't gonna hide, gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature is on my side, got all of the loving growing inside.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Beyond the Self, New Tartarian Times, Autodidactic, and the New Now. Today, we're going to continue on from our last conversation where we talked about bugs in our system, bugs in your system, bugs in our brains. And what do you do about it? Why is it important? And why should you pay close attention to what's going on? Because your story is your life, your history should be your story, your past, your present. And how do you make a new story? How do you make a new life? Why is it important to pay attention and decide what to let in and what not to let into your life, and how you can change your life for the better by understanding that it's all up to you and it's all your story, and you can change that narrative because, well, you have that power.
Yes, indeed. You have choice. So what is your story? And I guess people tend to base their lives on other people's opinions. But yeah, other people's opinions, everything outside affect your field. If you're living from other people's opinions, you're not living your life. And these are bugs in the system because that's someone else's life. Their opinion is great for them, for their experience. But if you take it on and think that something that works for you, you've gotten that you have had a completely different experience to that person. Everything you interpret is different. So this is, we talk about it a lot. Your life and your ideas of your life and how you want to live it, they need to come from within you. Because if they don't, it's literally you're just living someone else's story. And you know, what happens if we are all here to do something? If you live someone else's story and you get to the end and you go, oh crap, I didn't live my life, you'll probably come back and do it again, right? But this is like life has to be your choice, because if it's not, it's someone else's choice.
Yeah, that's why we're calling this one challenge of choice. It's to even figure out what your choices are, to challenge yourself to see what's possible, to see what's new. We've talked about bugs, Cambell and I, we've talked about truth, we've talked about shaping your destiny. And it's all revolved around the same topic, in that to decide how you want to live and what you want to do, you must figure out what's possible for you. And to figure out what's possible for you, you need to see your choices. We all say, I had no choice, so I did this. I have no choice, so I did this. I had no choice, so I went to school. I have no choice, so I'm going to work. I have no choice. I have children. I have no choice. I hurt my foot. And I would say personally that that's all BS, because those are all choices you make by deciding first you have no choice, right? And that's why this one's called the challenge of choice. And this is where your story comes from, and that you have to decide what your choices are so that you can make maybe new choices. Because if you don't like any of your choices, you can throw them all away. You could choose choice F, which means, choice freedom, let's say, if you want, instead of choice failure, and then look for a new choice in what you want to do with your life. And, again, as Cambell said, it's a story. When you watch, I hate to use movie or TV analogies, but, when you watch a story or read a story, you're not really interested in the secondary characters so much. They support the main story, and everyone wants to be the main character in their life. If you want to be a secondary character and support the story of your country, or support the story of your parents, or support the story of your community, or support the story of someone else, probably at the end of your days, you're going to figure out you had a poor, a poor experience, in that it wasn't your story. You were just supporting someone else's. And as Cambell said, maybe you'll have to come back and look at doing it all over again.
Yeah. So this is the question: is whose story are you? Is it his story? Is it your story? Is it the Miss story? We have all these stories, and life is a story, but you can't, you can't be the hero in someone else's book. We know this, right? It doesn't happen like that. Heroes don't jump from book to book, and there's all these background characters, as Lorenzo says, but what's really influencing you and your story? Because I've said it before, like the worst thing for me would to be an old man in my deathbed going, if only I did that, if only my life, if only I didn't listen to those people. Because this is the thing, it might be fun, and you might think you're successful, I'm making more money than that person, and rah, rah, rah. But when you get to the end of your life, does any of that matter? Remember you? Are they going to talk about you in 3 generations and go, well, my my great-great-grandfather, he earned $10,000 a year more than that other guy. So no one cares. All these stories we get about, and all these stories are external, right? Everything that they want to validate, none of that means anything. It really, when we get down to it, when everything gets lost and it's life or death, no one cares. No one cares about any of that stuff, right? And the people who, who do spend their lives believing that story and working at all that, we know that that can be taken away in an instant. And then who are they? If all you are is these external possessions that possess you, right? Then what happens when they all go away? There's nothing there. There's nothing left because you've sold, SOULED, sold yourself. You've given someone else your soul. You've said, take control. I'll follow you. You tell me the path to go. Let's hope it works. And that's probably not a very good idea.
And that's why it's called challenge of choice. If you're living someone else's story, you only get a few choices, right? A choice for this job or the other job or this country, the other country. And the choices can go as deep or as high or as big as your imagination can grow. You can have a choice to live a new way, a choice to be a new way, a choice to develop new talents, a choice to dream differently, a choice to even leave this dream, I would say. So the choices are, when you have a choice you don't like, would be to see about finding a new choice. And that's why we're calling this one challenge of choice. It's like challenge yourself to find something that's different. Challenge yourself to find something that's new. If you're sitting back on your ass and going, I don't know, there's nothing I can do, or this is what I've always done, or I would like to, but I can't, or I should, but I won't, whatever that is, you can stop right there, maybe turn the page, start a new chapter. Something I wanted to mention, I wrote down, what does story mean? Think about it as well. If you're building building, stories go higher, right? Yep. So do the next story. Why do they call it a 10-story building, a 20-story building? So if your story is higher, and I don't know about anybody else here, but when I've been in a high apartment, I don't want to live there, but I visit it, you can see further, you can see more options. So even if you don't know what your next choice is, if you don't like the choices you have, that's a good place to start. Start your story that way. I had 10 choices. I hated all of them. So what am I doing? I'm building stairs to the next story. What's going to happen? I don't know. Do I know how to build stairs? Not at all. I'm piling rocks. I'm piling dead fish. Doesn't really matter, piling chickens and standing on top of them. Maybe it's a comedy story. For me, my life, much of it's been a comedy story because I've been a fool my whole life. So, I keep laughing every day at how stupid I am, even today, even yesterday, always, finding ways that I can increase my own humor. Somebody said they like that, that if you want to ascend, drop the ballast, get lighter, go higher. So if you don't know how to fly yet, or you don't know how to float yet, or you don't know how to drop all of your BS so that you can increase your vibration and go higher, well, get into shape, build those stairs, build an elevator, figure out a way to get a little higher. It doesn't really matter, but it's in the efforts of building your next story. Probably you'll find skills you didn't know you had. You'll find, potential you didn't know was there, unused potential. And from there, you'll be able to, one step at a time. As they say, there's a reason people say that. Take one step today. If you don't like something, walk away from it. If you don't like something, keep walking away. If you have an excuse, that butt in the way, Campbell's mentioned that many times. You see a butt on your stairs, go around it, go through it, go under it, deflate it, kill it. Doesn't really matter. But these will all be, everyone likes a challenge. Heroes always have challenges before the end. It's never just, I win, be a boring story. It's over. Thank you for reading. Thank you for being here. No, everyone's got a challenge. So, the challenge becomes part of your story. And that's how you get higher in your levels. And, if you're going to be a baby about it, maybe that'll be your story. But I would say get over being a baby and find out how to make your story more interesting.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. If you're in someone else's story, what does that mean? It means you're in someone else's house and they get to tell you what to do.
Oh, everyone hates
that means, right? Exactly, right? That's not a good place to be, but that's where most people live, and they talk themselves into it, and they just stay in someone else's story. And, if you stay in the same story, and, the analogy is a building here, you're just repeating that story. You can't learn, right? We all know these people that we meet, and they've got these amazing stories, right? They've lived in 12 countries, and they've done all these things, none of the time has it got to do with, I got a house on the beach and I got a Porsche. It's all, these are the people that are always, oh my God, they went and lived on an elephant sanctuary, and then they were, doing this, and then they were building, alternative housing, and that's the stuff that's interesting. That's a lot of stories. That's what that is. They keep going up, and the more stories you have, like Lorenzo said, it's like the ladder. The more you can see. So I mean, that's if you're feeling stuck, that's the best place to start. Create a
Well,
new story,
and I
create
mean,
a new story, and live into it.
isn't that the problem most of us have with our parents or people that know you, or if you've been married too long, or Campbell and I talk to a lot of people too. So many people want you to live in their story. Like parents think their story is the only story or the best story. So you have to live in their story. Even today, I talk with my father. I haven't visited him in a while. He goes, okay, you can come visit me, but only if you live in my story. These are my, and you're going, I remember why now I moved away, right? Because I don't want to live in your story. The people in their story, usually they're not happy. Like look around, look at their story, look at how they are, look at how miserable they are. Even if a drama. What were those Greek ones? Tragic dramas, tragic comedies, or whatever. Who wants to live in a tragic comedy, right? Or to live in someone else's story? It's just so disempowering, unexciting to live in someone else's story.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we've all books now. Even boringish books are more interesting the first read. Most of us can read a book and there's something interesting. But what happens if you're on the 20th read of that book? Same book, and you're reading it for the 20th time. It's boring, right? So this is, if your story isn't changing, sorry to tell you, but this is what it is. It's boring because everyone's seen it for the last 10 years, the last 20 years. Your kids have grown up with it, the same story over and over and over. Boring, boring. So I'm sorry, if people are bored with your story, it's got nothing to do with them. You need to go and get a more exciting story, right? You need to ask better questions. Make that your story. Become interesting. Break away. And also, people don't want to read the same book that just is the same book but just has a different title and a different author.
Yeah.
They get a few pages in there. This is the same story. Throw that one away. So, what is your story? Is your story a collective story? Is it the same as the person next door? Is it the same as your husband or wife or children or whatever? Because seriously, to put it bluntly, no one's interested in all that stuff that we've all seen a million times. Where is it going to take it? Where's it going to? Is it going to take them a place where they feel like they're changing things and they feel fulfilled? No, it's going to take them around in circles. And like Lorenzo said with his father, it's basically this book of rules. You're now in my story, act this way, or you can't come in the street. And most people, I have to tell you, are just going to say, well, I'm not coming. Obviously, with family and parents, we go, okay, they kind of authored a bit of my book. I better go and give them some time. But anyone else, this is the thing. If you're finding that maybe, people aren't wanting to hang out, aren't interested in your story, well, change your story. All right. As soon as you complain, that's just a PS at the end of your story. PS, if you don't like my story, you suck. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it is, right?
And
So write a
something,
new story.
talking about bugs in the system we've talked about and everything, maybe all of this, all the news we see, everything on the internet, everything in the newspapers, everything that's on someone else's YouTube channel. I mean, I see some drama going on about extra exposure, we'll say, that's been going on recently in some of the communities. And you're looking at it, you're going like, eventually you're going, who cares? What's the point? I mean, if you watch the news, you see what is going on supposedly in the Ukraine or supposedly here, the politicians are telling you supposedly that the prices are going up or there's no power or whatever. Maybe it's all just a story. This is all someone else's story and they're trying to tell you what to do. And from there, if you agree with it, that becomes part of your story. And then that's why people are upset, because then they're in a cage. And if you're a creator being, which I know we are, and we make our story, you have to agree to other people's story to make it your story, or you can find new choices, do something else, do a different story. I mean, I'm going to go one more further and share an experience I had even just yesterday. Prices are going up. Everything's more expensive. I can't believe it. Yesterday, I went to an expensive supermarket. I was looking around. Organic food is very expensive here in Asia where I am. Campbell's frozen again, so maybe he can still hear the story. He's back. And I found, because they don't like off-size things in Japan, everything has to be like of a similar size when they're selling it. I found a 2-kilo huge bag of organic carrots for $2.50, simply because it didn't fit the standard of their story, right? And usually that would be like $30 worth of carrots here. It's like ridiculous prices for organic stuff. But for me, it was literally free, $2.50. I couldn't even carry it home almost. So it's more than 2 kilos of organic carrots that I use for my cooking, whatever, for my salads. And they're delicious. They're fantastic. Almost free. Why? Because I decided in my story, prices aren't going up. Because I decided in my story, I'm going to be healthy. Because I decided in my story, I'm going to get what I need. And I don't care what anyone else tells me. I don't care what the news says. I don't care what people say. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what my neighbors say. It doesn't matter to me. It's my story. I'm authoring it. I'm choosing it. And so that's the magic as well in the fact that you're a creator being, is maybe there is no reality. Maybe there is no matrix. Maybe there is none of this. Maybe there is no cage. Maybe there's no archons. Maybe there's no way Tico. Maybe there's no religion. Maybe none of this is true. Maybe it's just somebody giving you a BS bullshit, crappy story that you've decided to live. And then here you are complaining about it instead of doing something about it, as I've done many times. Complaining, that is.
Yeah. I mean, this is you give them a narrative and get them to believe it and to live it out, and then you control them. And so, do you want to be controlled? Like, we've got this word, which is eventually something you go out and do, right? It's like, and we're sort of taught it's business, but really adventure is just, I'm going to go and help the elephants, or I'm going to go and work with, orphans, or that's adventure. So to use an adventure story, right? Do something different. Take a different course, because if you're just going to read everyone else's story and go, that's good, I might just copy that and pretend to be AI, right? I'll just copy everything. Then your life is going to be worse than theirs, because their story may be right for them. That may be someone else's, but even if it's perfect for them and they have an amazing, successful life, you're not them. You are not them. You don't see the world as they see it. You won't make the same decisions that they make. So it's not for you. We really all need to get back to, trusting ourselves enough to know that our story, authority love to say, they want to be the authors. That's why it's author story. So be your own author.
Interesting.
We know how smelly and gross these authority figures are. What kind of book do we want to read here? Do we want to write here? If we let them in, we know what it's going to turn out to be, a bit of a, smutty, putrid book, right? And so, and the other thing is, when people do write books, if it's the same, because we see it all the time, like, Lord of the Rings, very, very famous book, very, there's so many copies of that story, so many copies of it. Has anyone heard of those copies? Has any of those copies been made into movies? And no, hardly anyone knows about them, because it's just a recreation. It's not a creation, which we've talked about before. So, that's the thing. Just trust yourself that a different story is better. Just by the default that it's different, it's better than rewriting someone else's story. So that's a big thing. But bugs, these bugs in our system are the ones that are going to be there going, no, your story is not good enough. Look at that story over there. Look where he got with his story. Oh, that story looks so amazing. And it's going to tell you all these things. So ignore that and understand it's a bug. It's a bug in the system, right? That's all it is. We know what bugs are. Little crawly things, bottom feeders. They literally eat what every other animal excretes. A bug. So what's it full of, right? We know. The crap. Are you going to let a bug full of crap tell you how to live your life? Probably not a good idea.
And if that's the monster that you have to face, it sounds like a good next chapter of your story. If you have to face the big bug that's as big as you, maybe the bug's bigger than you. Maybe that's where, the idea of a dinosaur or Godzilla or whatever it comes from. They just look like huge bugs or huge lizards. So if you're fighting that, good. That's part of your story. I shocked my wife before she was my wife by telling her, because in Japan, the story is you work. You grow up and you work, and you grow up and you work. And then I've found out here, which is very interesting, people don't even want to live a long time. They go, well, 80 years, that's enough. I'm already tired, and that'll be good for me because I'll have done my duty, and I'll want to pass along. And when I told my wife, I want to live as long as possible and do as much as possible, she was actually shocked because it wasn't part of the Japanese story. Then when I told her, life is adventure, I think that's why she married me. She goes, no one in my entire life ever told me life was an adventure. They're always telling me life is duty, life is work, life is toil, life is you listen to the government. Do you know I went into a shopping mall here and saw a junior kindergarten or a young kid's art project in a mall, in a shopping mall, all in kanji, which is Japanese language, and everybody wrote down "pay your taxes." I couldn't even believe it. Right? It's like this was like in grade 2 or grade 3. They had all these different things. It was unbelievable. My jaw dropped, and all it was all these kids that had all these different signs put up in the middle of the mall, and they were all told to, in their lovely interpretive way, put down in the Japanese language, pay your taxes. And they were doing this with, not junior, like elementary school students. So literally the bugs, or the assholes, I'm going to say, in the system, were shoving into these kids, which has probably been shoved into you, the story, the rule in their story is pay your be taxed, toiled, suffer. I couldn't think of a better reason to figure out that we should all change our own stories and find new choices, because the ones given to us are obvious garbage.
Garbage. Yeah, I mean, who's, and this is a thing, it confuses the results. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And I'm like, well, okay, show me someone who's done this and is wildly happy and just blissful all the time. Show me them. Where are they? They will never shut up about, you must do this, you must do this, this is the way forward, this is the way to success. Oh my God, this person did it. It doesn't matter what anyone else has done. And as I said before, their story could be as successful for them as, they could be the most successful person ever. Doesn't mean that you're, next to that, we have a lot of people who have these good stories, who do go through challenges, who do get out the other side, but they don't tell them. They keep them inside because, they think it's something to be ashamed of, because they're not thinking of, I overcame all this stuff. So that's another, share your stories, get them out there, because everyone has a story that will affect someone else. It will give them a better question, and that question will start to lead them on their quest. So do share your stories. Don't keep them inside and think, oh, well, their stories are so much bigger. Look at that building. It's a penthouse. It has dorm, and oh my God, and I've only got this little crappy building full of, the crappy falling apart building. That's just perception, right? Because there's probably someone down the street looking at your building. Oh, if I could get a building that, it's all perception. So this is the thing. Build your own stories and make sure you've got good cleaners, right? Good bug spray. Don't let the bugs infest, right? We all know, right? If you have an amazing luxury hotel, right? Who leaves? No one's going there, right? Until you get rid of the bugs. So get the bugs out of your story as well, out of your construction, right? Your building. Because that's what you are. You are building a story. Funny how these words work, isn't it? Building a story, building stories in it. This is what we're doing. So build a story, but be your own architect. And again, we get back to these words, right? To be the designer. Like if we all know, if you go out and copy someone else's design, right, what's going to happen? So don't do it. Just go out on your own. And I think the biggest thing is trust. Just trust. Trust that your story is worth it. It's valid, and it's definitely valid to someone. If you tell a story and people are like, well, that story sucks because there's no variety, go and tell other people your story. That's when that's when you go, okay, elevator down to the bottom, across the street, new building, up we go. Right, get out. It's probably full of bugs, that building, so get out of it.
Yeah, nobody wants to read or live or see a story that's boring, or someone that's done something, following along. So who's going to read a story about a salaryman, or who wants to read a story about a secretary, or who wants to read a story about a boring person that just followed along and, died unhappy at the end, because unless it's a cautionary tale, I guess, then might be something you want to read as something to continue on with. But I don't know about you, but when I read stories that are out there or increase my imagination or share with me things I couldn't consider or didn't consider before as possibilities for my own life, those are the ones that hold my interest. Those are the ones I want to read from again. Those are the ones that push me out a little further. You know, Campbell's frozen here, which is interesting. So in our story right now, we're literally going through challenges to get this story out. You know, and it's not the first time, you know, we've had internet connection problems, and maybe it's the bugs in the system that don't want us to share this. That's I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen it happen many, many times. But you know, through the challenges, through Challenge Born, you find your stories, you get to where you need to go, and then you can build from there. And I would say, tell anyone that doesn't want you to live your new story, that gets in the way. The Italian way of saying "f off." You know, whether it's your parents, your friends, your husband, your wife, I don't care. Your mother, your father. To me, if they're stopping you from living your new story, they're not loving you. And if they're not loving you, well, then if it's not loving, flush it and go find some love. And even
Yeah.
if it's from a dog or a bird or a cat or the breeze.
Interesting, isn't it? Dogs will always love your story, but most people, especially family and things, they want to edit your story. They want to
Yeah.
edit it. They want to change it. They want to say, no, no, don't do that. No, you need to change that. No, what? You want to be a musician? Oh my God, all that will do is make you happy. No, that's stupid. Go and make money. Be successful in the eyes of other people. Like the eyes, which is myself, looking. I mean, there's all these things. So write it for yourself. Don't let the eye that's looking in become the eye that's you that's looking out. Right? There's all these that we know that society is just an editor. They're like, here's the plan. Here you go. You might, you can put your name in the book a few places, but pretty much there's the story. Just go and live by that, and just look around, which I say often. Look around. Results. How's everyone doing with that? What do they get? World of bliss. Do we just see these amazingly happy people walking down the street, just everywhere? Like everyone's got exactly what they want. Do we ever see that? And another thing is when we do see that, what is it normally? It's not normally I've changed the world. It's normally look at all these pictures I've accumulated, isn't it? I mean, seriously, it's a house on the beach. It's a big business. They've written 24 books. They fly. It's all these things. Now that's all someone else's story. Like if you were never told what a Ferrari is, would you ever see a Ferrari and think, oh, the owner of that is sorry, we've been told what success is. And that's the biggest one. That's the biggest trap. Oh, this is success, so I must do this. No. Success is being yourself, finding the most of yourself and putting that out into the world. That's true success. How do I know? Because people tend to get the nice house, wherever they want to live, if it's on the bush or the beach, they tend to end up there, not through building businesses and chasing houses, but just that way, doesn't it? If you put out what's inside you, you're writing your own story. You tend to end up where you want to end up. But we've all seen these people who, my parents included, who work their whole lives and they keep chasing and they keep chasing and they keep chasing money. And they always tend to do silly things with money. But by the time they're 70, have they got bucket loads of money? No. And even if they do, they're 70 now. What are they going to do with it? They sell out themselves for someone else's story.
I mean, think about what's an edit. No wonder you don't like it. An edit is a cut. A cut in your story. When they edit a movie, they cut pieces out. If they edit a book, they correct the language, they correct your perspective. So that's okay if you trust the person to help you edit, because maybe someone's editing out your habits or editing out your bad choices, but if they're doing it from love, that's okay. But if they're doing it with a nefarious purpose, like an edit to reach the most people or an edit to be the same or an edit to live the way they want you to, no wonder it's painful when someone tells you what to do. For me, they're literally trying to cut my life. Like I'm not a slave. No one can tell me what to do. Eventually you grow up and you figure it out. And if someone's saying, oh, no, you mean this, I hate that. Or, oh, no, this is what you mean. Or, oh, no, this is what you should do. Again, even talking to my father today, oh, you're coming. Oh, maybe you should do it this way. Maybe. And, I literally want to kill. And I don't want to say I don't want to kill the person because, that's a bad thing to say, but I want to kill the energy coming at me that's trying to cut me. It makes sense, right? Because it's painful to have someone tell you, I know better for you than you know for yourself, because that's
Yeah,
the bottom of what they're saying. And that's just nonsense.
it is. I mean, look at what happened to slaves in the pubs, and they gave them the cuts, whipped them, gave them cuts. In school, back in my day, we still had the cane, and they used to make it, they either saw on your hands, and it was literally the edit. Because why? Because you're not conforming to their story, right? So that should show us how important it is for this overlay, whatever we want to call it, this iconic energy. That's how important it is to them, not you not to tell your own, because they know how powerful it is and how we can all affect each other with stories. We can literally put each other on quests. When we've all got a quest, this whatever it is, right? This overlay, this negative energy, it's gone. On a quest, you don't have time to think about that stuff. You're on a quest, right?
Even
So
this
find
particular Even this particular chat, Cambell and I are doing it through the AI, through a system. It's making it harder for us to communicate. It's making it harder for us to share our ideas, because we're allowing at the moment, because it's our only potential, to use this as a communication device to get our ideas out. So I want to make this metafictional and say, look at how hard it is when you get supposed internet, when you get supposed communications, when you're supposedly not face to face, not live, not living your story in real time, and you're sharing through a system that for whatever reason is not perfect, is not allowing you to share. Obviously it's a virtual whatever. I was on the train the other day here in Japan, and they have a virtual zoo now, and come to virtual land, and yeah, I know, it's like a virtual zoo. Join us, and I'm going wow, what are they setting people up for, right? You don't have to have a real life anymore. You can have this virtual experience, and that's almost. Virtual means almost. So if you want to have a story where your choice is you're almost alive, you're virtually alive, which just means not really. It's you're close, but you're not really there. I mean, consider what's really going on if you start living a virtual life. It means you're not having a real one. So I would say choose a different choice and choose to have a real life according to how you would like to live. And if you need to use the system as we're using it here, you need to use the money, you need to use whatever, a car, a plane, a bus, realize you're just using it as it's using you, and don't take it too serious, and get on with what you're really trying to create, and accept the challenges for what they are. Like this one here, I'll do some editing, I'll get it out. If we're jumping around, that's the way life goes. Enjoy the fact that this is part of the story we're sharing, and it's allowing us to explain through the system how limiting being virtual can be, and why you should go beyond that, beyond the self, towards, making your story something that you would be happy to live in.
Yeah, I mean, my story is I'm getting internet from a electric car floating in space, apparently.
Apparently.
But clearly it's full of bugs, so I have to do a bit of work there, right?
All right. Maybe we've come to the end of this one, challenge of choice,
This
choosing
is
a
the thing,
story.
no one wants a boring story.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone likes an exciting story, right? The choose your own adventure books, all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
So just get out there, let people know your story. If you don't like the story you've got, understand. And if there's not, you can build it and go to the next story and the next. And Lorenzo touched on it before. Many people just reactively think they have the right to edit other people's stories. And I'll go back to it and ask you to edit your story. What would you do if someone came up and said, this part of your story is wrong, you must change it? Would you do that? Of course, the answer is no. Next question. Have you ever told, or do you tell people that they have to edit their story? Think about this, because this is what it comes back. We all say, oh, treat other people like you want to be treated. That's what it means. It's like this whole freedom thing. Everyone wants to be free, but somehow they don't want to let others be free. It's all about freedom. Oh my God, we're so repressed. We're all slaves. We just want to be free. Look at that person. Look what they can't do that. How did you see? We need to focus on what we're getting from our actions, from our story. And if it's bad, change the story, get the bugs out of the system, which the bugs are other people's opinions.
Very least, yeah.
When you want to do something, oh, you're foul, you're too fat, you're too stupid, you're too whatever. The bugs. Ignore the bugs.
Ignore
Write
the
in your
bugs.
own story.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe in protesting. Sorry for all the people out there that do that, because I think you're trying to tell people what to do. And if you just go live a different life, maybe you have to leave a country as I have. Maybe you have to leave a monetary system. Maybe you have to leave a dream. Maybe you have to change everything. But I would say your energy, and again, it's not a moral thing. It's a practical thing. If you use your energy to change your life, you'll get further ahead than using your energy to try and change everyone else's life. If you don't like a political system, don't participate. If you don't like something, don't participate. If you don't like a relationship, don't participate. If you don't like even an idea or a dream or the way they tell you, just stop participating. Take your energy, go do something else. And I don't want to hear anybody crying that it's not easy or I can't or it's hard. That's the story. The story is you can't do it, and this is the reason. So edit the story your own way. Edit that out. Edit the potential out. Realize there's even more potential than you can imagine. There's more energy. There's more things. What if we're dreaming creatures? We have to learn to dream a new story. We have to learn to create a new story. Keep building those stories higher. Maybe eventually you'll get so high, you'll ascend to heaven, and then you'll get to see heaven's story or God's story or Buddha's story. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But maybe you got to build 100 stories first to get up there. Maybe there's no elevator to take your fat ass or your fat ideas up to that story, or your lazy ass if you're not fat, whatever it is. Maybe you have to build that story yourself, climb the stairs, get higher. By the time you get up there, you'll be in shape to maybe see some new perspectives and new ways to be alive. Cambell and I are doing live streams. Maybe I'll plug it a little now. Coming this Friday, we're going to be talking about story. Cambell's frozen again. Maybe we'll have a better internet connection at that time. You're kind of back. Now you're back again.
I'm back. I set up this internet yesterday and it worked perfectly until I started talking about stories with Lorenzo. Maybe someone doesn't want us, they're throwing bugs into our story, right? So I'll just end on this. You may or may not have heard of The Never-Ending Story. Great movie from the 80s. Now, this movie was talking about stories. And the main message was when we're our stories, everything goes, right? Everything turns into the great nothingness, and that eats everything. So there is no story. What are we going through at the moment? We're going through this phase where we're being told we almost believe the same story. That leads to nothingness, right? What leads to more is us creating our own stories. Because, like Lorenzo said, this could just be a dream. We have all these theories, and everyone's like, this is the truth. This is it. Great. Show me 100% proof that you're right. They can't. So it's all theory. It's all theory. This is another thing you must understand. It's all theory. It's all someone else's story. And they may have proven it for themselves, but that doesn't mean it's true for you.
Yep.
All right. So we need to create these stories, and they need to be good stories, adventurous stories. We don't want more stories of, I went to school and when I was 21, I got a great job, and 40 years later, I had a nice car and then I died. That's not a good story. We need adventure. We need stories that are quests, that are started by questions. And the more of these stories we get in, then we create a never-ending story, right? All these stories that go forward and populate our experiences.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. Just believe in yourself and get your story out there. Tell it. If someone's not interested, that's fine. In fact, that's amazing, because you know that now you won't go to them to tell them stories. Find people that are interested.
Maybe it is one long story. Maybe our energy, that's the infinite soul that we have, as we get to keep creating. Maybe we've hit an eddy here coming into this dream where everyone's spinning their heels into, they have a clothing company here called Uniqlo, which is horrible. I didn't realize it stands for uni clothing, and it's all around the world right now, right? And I used to shop there because it was cheap, or they get their stuff from China, of course, but uniform, Uniqlo, they want one story for everyone, which makes it easy to control. So the bottom line with that is, don't listen to anyone's story. Realize it's all up to you. Even I saw a video the other day of the silly fool from Canada saying, nobody told you to take the jab. It's, we told everyone it's up to them. We told everyone you had a choice. I mean, I knew this was coming, and they're all saying, well, you decided, so it's not my fault that you were so stupid. right? And now, whatever consequences you're feeling, I mean, they may force you, they may try and herd you like cattle into an area. They may say, no hamburgers, no traveling to see your mother. You can't go see the hockey game unless you do it, which is fine. But the bottom line in all of it is, I think they're telling you indirectly, it is all up to you. You are free. They can't really force you to do anything. They can have a big mouth. They can have a big stick. They can be on TV 1,000 times, and 1,000 times you can say no.
Yeah.
And then, Cambell and I have talked with people that feel bad because they listen to the narrative and then are trying to feeling guilty and blame and shame for having done something stupid. It's like, well, you were stupid. Change your story. Become smart now. When I thought our story was over, when I said maybe we're at the end, I guess I was wrong. Cambell and I have continued on talking for another 10 minutes since I thought we were finished. It's good to be wrong. It's good to see that there's more. It's good to allow things to come, get beyond the first story, the floor, and go higher, see where it takes you. We're going to do live streams starting Friday again, Cambell and I. It's going to be about story. Join us. It's going to be on Cambell's channel. We'll put the link up. There'll be a video, a thumb up to see there. Join our Patreon. We'll put the links below. We've decided after this week, we're going to continue on. We'll do a live stream where you can chat with us. And then after that, those that are members of our Patreon can come and have these live Zoom interaction sessions with us for a bit more extra time so we can get a chance to share our stories and see how we can make something more beautiful, perhaps together.
Yeah, indeed. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, we do a bit of talking, but these are all suggestions. We don't want you to live our stories. We want you to write your own, but we also want to hear other people's stories. So that's what this whole Patreon and sort of Zoom meeting, and discuss our stories and maybe give each other better questions to help each other on our quests, because that's what we're all doing down here. We're just on a quest. So better questions make a better quest. A better quest makes a better story, and a better story elevates you, right?
Nobody knows better. That's what we've found. Cambell and I have spent maybe 100 videos telling people better ways to live. Then we realized maybe we're wrong in telling you better ways to live. I mean, that's fine. We needed to get there. And maybe it's all about seeing we all have the potential to live better. We all have the potential to choose better. We all have the potential for ourselves to dream better, but we all need to figure it out for ourselves as well. So it's not even a moral thing, again, telling you have to live my way or you shouldn't live that way. It's more of the fact nobody really can tell another person how to be. Right? You have to accept someone else's story. You have to accept their limitations. You have to accept their edits. And if you don't, the hardest part comes then in realizing you have to get it off that, behind and start writing your own story, start authoring your own way. And there's where maybe responsibility, freedom, maybe it's not as complicated as everyone's made it out to be. You don't listen to stupid people giving you stupid advice. You figure things out for yourself. You move in a loving fashion. Oh my goodness, isn't that difficult? Move in a loving fashion towards a life you would like to live, and don't let anyone tell you different. A 2-year-old could give you that advice.
Yeah, truth is always simple. If someone's complicating it and saying, well, you don't understand because you don't get this equation, understand that they're full of crap.
Yeah.
Right? Experts aren't someone to look up to. Experts are just very, very way deep in someone's story. So and just also remember that we all make mistakes. We all write some crappy verses, a crappy chapter, maybe even a crappy book.
Crappy
that
decades.
we don't have to publish. For let's write a different story, right? Like so don't sit there going, oh my God, look at all those bad books I've written. Just go, awesome, lots of ways not to go forward. Now something different, and that's all it, because guilt and shame anyone, and when you let go of that, you'll probably then find the stories in them, and they'll be funny. It's like, oh my God, I did this, I can't believe I fell for that, oh my God. And when you do that, you can move forward. When you're in shame, oh my God, how did I fall for that? You will stay there.
And I'll just add to this while Cambell's frozen and maybe coming back.
Not great nothingness.
Yeah, and nobody likes a boring story. Everyone likes a story where the hero has to succeed over challenges, where the hero was stupid and became better, where the hero was losing and then they started to win. So maybe everyone has the potential, everyone listening to this, including me, has the potential for the most exciting story ever, having realized how you don't want to go, how you don't want to be, how you don't want to grow, how you've been silly, stupid, and wrong. And then you can go the other way. And that's an interesting story because it's how you overcome those things will probably be of interest to other people. And that's why Cambell and I want to share stories, want to share our story, want you to share your story. This is really what our new Tartarian Times Beyond the Self is about. It's about making a new story, not wishing we were in the past or wishing we're missing something that used to be here or trying to change the rules from stupid politicians or whatever. It's not about that. It's just we sit down, we make a new story, then we go live in it. Isn't that sweet and simple? Maybe that's what community can be about anyways.
Indeed. So become your own authority and author your own story because you're this person to do it, and really no one else can.
Beautiful.
So if you would like to learn more, there are links below, like Lorenzo says, to our Patreon group where you can participate and we can share our stories. And from that, we'll all get a different perspective, better questions, better quests.
Yep. And we're looking to do that weekly after this week. So join us for our live stream this Friday or Thursday in North America, Friday in Asia and Australia. Cambell will put that up on his channel, and we hope to see you there, and we hope to see you further along the line. And questions, suggestions, or anything else, support us. We support you, and we'd love to hear more of your intelligent responses, stories, and ideas moving forward. Thank you for being here today. I love you all very much.
And just one last thought is, what do we do with stories? We write them. We don't wrong them, we write them.
Oh, good one. Good one. Yes.
Okay, so keep on writing your story.
Yeah. You can't be wrong if you write your story. It's just the next chapter, the next story, the next elevation, the next way to go higher. And I'm happy to go along with you as you do it yourself. And thank you, Cambell. This has been great. Always they go in interesting ways. And thank you all. We'll see you again the next time. Bye-bye.
Well, be awesome.
Light of my heart. No one tells me where I should start. Freedom first is what I say.